Okay, good morning everybody, and welcome to the final session of the Chartership Competencies Breakfast webinar series. So this is part 12. The series has been run over the past 12 weeks by members of the Metropolitan branch, and yeah, this is the final session. So just to go through the introduction and format, I'm sure those of you that have been with us through the 12 weeks will now be familiar with this, but just to run through it one final time. So we're going to introduce the competency today, set out some key questions, give some example responses. We were hoping to have a guest speaker joining us today, but I'm not sure that they have been able to, so we'll wait and see if he joins or not, just for some personal examples. Get some activities for today and then get some activities for this week. So this week we're moving on to the E competencies. So there are two competencies within this section. So E1, demonstrate continued professional development, is the one that we're going to be looking at today. And then the other part of this competency is discussing your commitment to CIWEM. We're not actually covering this competency as part of the series, as it's quite a personal competency. I have put the competency in just for reference, but we will not be going into it in any detail today. So the focus of today's session is E1, demonstrating continuing professional development. Okay, so within the CIWEM guidance for the mandatory competencies, this is kind of the exam question that you're looking to answer. So you will need to demonstrate that you are recording your continued learning and professional development. You will need to give examples of self-directed research, for example, journals, magazines, legislative documents, training courses, for example, health and safety, presentation, report writing skills, new technology and software, also conferences, technical panel meetings, seminars, publishing papers and giving presentations. So there's a whole range of examples. That's not an exhaustive list, that's just some indicative ideas that you might want to use, but not by any means exhaustive. You'll be aware of the need of corporate members to maintain at least 30 hours of CPD per year and keeping a record of this in the CIWEM template, illustrating how the learning is contributing to your ability to perform as a professional. So that's the question, and as always, we're going to break this down now to make it a bit more manageable. So the key questions for this competency. So question number one, do you have a personal development plan? So how do you plan what continued professional development to undertake? So does your company have systems? So do you have an annual review? Does your company provide templates for CPD logs or development plans? Do you have an individual training budget that you need to kind of work within and that you have at your disposal, which can help you and support you with your CPD, and which help you identify CPD requirements and fulfill them? Do you record examples of continued learning and personal development? So that's the recording aspect within your personal development plan. What have you learnt, gained from your CPD? So this is a real key question. So it's not a case of just listing out the CPD that you've undertaken, but it's also taking that, digesting it and think, what did I actually learn, gain, benefit from this CPD? So the next question here, do you explain and track the benefits of the CPD against your own personal development? So that's where it really is a personal development plan that CIWEM are looking for here. And then mapping out how your CPD has tracked against that and filled any gaps that you've identified in your own personal development and then gained benefit and learning from that CPD. And then are you maintaining at least 30 hours of CPD a year? So when you come to submit your chartership application, at that point, you need to have at least 90 hours over the past 3 years. So that's on average 30 hours of CPD per year. Again, don't limit yourself to 30 hours, of course, you can do more than that, but that is the minimum that CIWEM are looking to see recorded within your personal development plan. And then a final question here, do you coach, counsel or mentor others? So this is kind of going beyond just taking responsibility for your own personal development, but also going a step further and helping others with their personal development plans as well. So if you have done some coaching, counselling or mentoring, really good to put that down in your application, and something that CIWEM would be really keen to see and would reflect well. So this slide here, so what I wanted to do is just explain to you how to go about recording your CPD. So I think a lot of the main thing to say up front with this is just write it down. As soon as you've been to an event, a conference, a seminar, a training course, read a journal, just write it down the day you've done it. Write the date of it, the time, the duration, the title, and just get it down somewhere, whether it's a Word document, an Excel spreadsheet, doesn't matter. Recording it as you go will make your life much, much easier when it comes to doing your application. Of course, if you are at a point now where you're thinking, oh, I have done my CPD over the past 3 years, but I haven't recorded it and I quite like to submit soon, there's nothing stopping you sitting down for a few days and just writing it all down and remembering what you've done. But obviously, you know, it does make it easier if you do it as you go. So yeah, so a lot of people do record it within a Word document or an Excel spreadsheet, but I just wanted to point out that on the CIWEM website, there is actually a form to continually record your CPD, and this is where you'll also submit it as part of your application. So if you want to kind of skip a step and be a bit more efficient, you can just record everything on the CIWEM website from the word go. So here, this is the form. So you, as I said before, you need to record the date, the CPD year, how many hours you spent, the category of CPD. So there's a list of different categories that different types of CPD fall into. So you just select one of those. Key points from the CPD. So basically an overview of what it was, what your future plan is, and then kind of how the benefits of that CPD fits into your development plan. So I've put an example here just to talk you through what that should look like. So here the example is a conference and seminar. So the overview of it, it's Perfecting Performance, an internal course run by South East Water, so by a water company. It's equivalent of first tier Institute of Leadership and Management training. So that's the ILM training series. And so the subject is leadership and management training. So the person has said, that's the overview of what I did. My future plan is working towards achieving higher tiers of ILM training to advance my personal leadership and management skills. So that's the person's personal ambition and how this CPD is helping them to achieve that. And then more specifically, the actual key benefits of this CPD is time management, prioritizing tasks, presentation, communication, self-awareness skills, and interaction with a wide range of people from across the organisation. So I also wanted to flag this at this point because when I came to do my application, I'd done all the bits on the left. I'd said the date, I'd said the duration, and I'd said the overview. But what I hadn't done is put that benefits bit in or said how it slotted into my future plan. So that was quite an exercise for me at the end to go through and work through each of my CPD examples and just to kind of bolster them with that extra bit of information. So I think the sooner you have awareness of that, the better, so that you can kind of incorporate that as you record your CPD. Okay, so there's just a list here of types of CPD. In the kind of overall exam question of this competency, these are listed, but I just thought I'd put them here so they're clear. And again, not exhaustive. So self-directed research, so journals, magazines. I mean, reading the CIWEM magazine is absolutely valid. There's also CIWEM position statements on the website, which are really useful. I found, actually, particularly for preparing for my interview, give a wide range of CIWEM position statements in terms of microplastics, the environment generally, water resources. So lots and lots of different position statements which can be useful. There's one on Brexit at the time that I did mine, which is very useful. So I think, and the implications for the water industry. So there's a lot there, which, you know, if you do want to do a bit of independent reading, but also obviously then academic journals and industry magazines, all very useful as well. Training courses, so anything that you're doing as part of your work to do with health and safety, presentation, report writing skills, new technology and software. Training is a good one to show how you're kind of maintaining your own technological awareness and innovation in your area, keeping abreast of that. Any conferences that you attend, both within CIWEM and broader, so across, all conferences that you attend are valid here. Technical panel meetings, really good to show that you're kind of actually influencing the sector as well as just attending. So I think, yeah, so there's that kind of, you've gone along to stuff and gone along to CPD, but then there's what looks really great is I've presented something, I've led something, I've organised something. So if you've gone to a technical panel meeting, you've probably contributed and influenced, which is going that little step further. Seminars, publishing papers. So again, that's actually you kind of taking initiative and making an impact in academia or the industry. So that's, again, a really, really good one to have down. Giving presentations, that initiative again, and then coaching, counselling or mentoring. So not just your own personal development, but also looking to develop that of others. Okay, so this is just, so again, to talk about format here. So we are focusing on E1 competency. I gave the exam question for that, and that's the block of text that you'll need to write as part of your mandatory competency report that we've been going through for the last 12 weeks. This will be about 200 to 300 words that you'll write, and it will go alongside that report of your CPD, which I showed on an earlier slide. So you'll have two in combination. So what you don't want to do here is, list back out all of your CPD because you've only got 200 to 300 words. You just want to pull out some real shining examples that show the, the types of CPD that you've done, give a flavour of it, and then referring back to your full list of CPD alongside that. So here, the first point is I have maintained a record of CPD from a range of sources throughout my career, and it says attached. So you can put that in your answer and refer them back to that full record. It says attached, but it will be submitted as part of your online application form. I've year on year increased the amount of time. So yeah, then moving on to kind of how you might structure those 200 or 300 words. These are just a few examples. So I've year on year increased the amount of time spent on CPD as I've gained experience. So that's showing through time doing more and more, which is really good. Increased CPD in all areas, and then particularly focusing in on understanding better the economic, political and social context of my work. So here saying generally spending more time and looking to get more of the wider background, bigger picture context behind what this person does. That's a good example. I've also continued to develop my professional experience and knowledge from my early career, where I was attending training courses and workshops, to more recently delivering training and hosting workshops to develop the professional development of others and independent reading. So this is as I was saying before, so going from early in career just attending, which is valid in itself, and it may be that you haven't done much more on the proactive side of things, and that it's really good to have got out there and attended lots of different things and broadened your awareness and your understanding. So that's all really valid. But if you can show that you've also delivered training, hosted workshops, then that's excellent too. So just to highlight that point. I maintain a technical specialism in a particular subject and continue to advance my knowledge. And that's through attending conferences, advanced workshops and furthering development. So again, on a more kind of technical specialism, those more say technological training or technical training courses that you may have been on to understand kind of innovation in your area. I plan my CPD via an individual development plan to maintain my technical specialism and to keep it up to date, so technological advances and underpinning that wider context again. That's kind of the benefit of it. Undergo professional reviews and set development objectives. So this is all about that kind of tracking through time. So not just, that you've had a plan, you've had a plan that you're following. You've been identifying gaps, so highlighting any training needs as part of setting your objectives, looking at your progress against those objectives, having, say, 6 monthly or annual reviews with your company, say, with your manager, and then highlighting gaps, looking to your training budget to see what's available for you to utilise, and then organising yourself, training to go on to address those gaps, and therefore developing yourself and your learning. So I think that if you can capture that process in your answer, then that will be a really good aspect. And then I'm a member of, say, the professional body. So here, I mean, absolutely, you'll be a member of CIWEM, as that's the chartership that you're going for, but don't limit yourself to CIWEM. If you are a member of another professional body, then do put that down as well. And then saying about attending training courses, conferences, and reading journals, and then subscribing to online bulletins. So again, that's just to give you a flavour, types of things you might want to say, not exhaustive. And this one is quite a personal one because it depends on the types of CPD that's relevant to you, or that you're interested in, or that you've done over the last few years. Okay, so the activity for today, so to discuss with your peers, ideas for forms of CPD that you've undertaken. What was the last CPD event that you went on? And what did you gain from it? How did it address a gap in your development plan? And what was the most interesting or innovative CPD that you have undertaken? And by thinking about kind of, what was interesting about it, what was innovative about it, it will help you think a bit wider beyond just the overview of what the CPD was to the benefit that it brought you and how it kind of fed into your future plans. And then ideas on the best way to keep an ongoing record of the CPD that you've undertaken. So this will be different for everybody. A Word document might work best, as I said, Excel, might want to do it on PowerPoint slides, or within the online CIWEM form as probably the most efficient way. So whatever works best for you. But as I said before, the key thing is just to write it down as and when it happens, with that additional information, so that you're not having to track back afterwards and frantically write it down before you apply. And then the activity for this week, so update your CPD log, list the types of CPD that you have undertaken, spend 15 minutes answering the key questions. And if you don't have an individual development plan, discuss this with your line manager, and they can support you with that. Perhaps providing you with a company template to just kind of, if you're feeling a bit stuck with where, how to get started, hopefully they can point you in the right direction. And also there's the CIWEM mentoring platform. So again, if you are a bit stuck in this area, that's a really good resource to link up with people who have become chartered, who have had a development plan and have been logging CPD, and they can support you in the types of CPD and the way in which you might want to record it as well. So yeah, do check that out. I've got a slide on that later. Okay, so that was E1, demonstrating continuing professional development, and we'll have a bit of Q&A at the end if there are any questions on that. I'm not going to go into detail on E2, which is discussing your commitment to CIWEM. I have, however, just put it here, just so that when you refer back to the slides, you've got it here for completeness. And I'll just read it out quickly. So discussing commitment to CIWEM, you will need to identify a commitment to CIWEM, identifying your reasons for joining the institution, how you have, will continue to, or will in future contribute to developing the institution, branch meetings, journals, papers, articles, special interest groups, technical panels, etc. So why you chose CIWEM, what you have or will contribute to CIWEM, and how you promote the benefits of CIWEM with your colleagues and other potential members. So this is very personal. This is why you're going for your chartership, why CIWEM suits your career, your aspirations, and then what your own personal activities are within CIWEM. So for me, now being part of, say, the Metropolitan branch is something that I've done to kind of contribute to CIWEM. So you've done a presentation for CIWEM, that's great as well. And if maybe you haven't taken that, I know when I went for Chartership, I hadn't taken such a proactive role as I am now, probably within CIWEM. So what I wrote in my application was more kind of aspirations for the future, that I would like to become a CIWEM mentor. I haven't yet, but that's an aspiration within my personal development plan beyond chartership. And I also said at that stage that I would be looking to get more involved in the branches, which I then went on to do, which I'm now working with in the Metropolitan branch. So if you haven't, you know, taken such a proactive role at this stage, that's okay. You can kind of look ahead and think about that at the point that you apply. But yeah, so that's just to pause on that one for a sec. So, okay, so for the final time, we'll just go through the tips. So these apply to all of the 12 competencies that we've been through over the 12 weeks, plus those 2 extra competencies which we haven't covered. So that's the ability to communicate in English, which will just be a short response, and also, as we've just discussed, your contribution to CIWEM, which is quite a personal one, which is why we haven't covered it off here. So always write in the first person. CIWEM are only interested in what you have done, not what your team have done. Be honest about what you've contributed to a project. Understand why you are doing a particular task, or what is the bigger picture. Be concise. Remember what you have written, as you'll need to be referring back to it when it does come to your professional review interview. And don't limit yourself to experience at a current employer or paid employment. So, okay, so those were kind of the tips for the competencies. As this is the final session in the series, I just wanted to also go through the other aspects of the application. So at the point you log on to the CIWEM website and you set up so throughout this series, we've been going through the competencies for Chartered Water and Environment Manager. So that's the focus here. So at the point you go to the CIWEM website, you start your application process. It's an online form for Chartered Water and Environment Manager. These are the different aspects that you will need to have, and the different documentation which you'll be uploading in order to submit that application. So it's a copy of your CV, copies of relevant certificates. So if you've got a BSc degree, master's degree, a PhD, any relevant certificates that you have, I think in terms of training certificates, those are more kind of listed out within your CPD. So say, for example, you've got your confined spaces training and you've got a certificate for that, you wouldn't upload that as a course certificate. So that would just be listed as a CPD activity. So it's really your kind of main academic certificates here. Your 1,000-word career overview report. So that's really your CV, but just in writing, a bit of kind of like a cover letter and what your career has been to this point. And then the 2 in blue are the ones that we've talked about over the past 12 weeks. So the 4,000-word mandatory competence attainment report, that's the 14 competencies, providing details of how your experience to date meets each of the 14 competencies. So as we've talked about through the series, 2 examples per competency for each of the 14, roughly, but you can, pick and choose how you do that yourself. And then your training and CPD record for the last 3 years, showing a minimum of 30 hours of CPD a year. So again, as discussed, that forms one, as we've talked about with E1 today, that forms one of the competencies, E1, a few hundred words, just giving an overview of your CPD, and then also your record, which you're uploading on the website as well, as part of your application, which actually lists out all of your CPD that you've carried out. And then finally, having 2 sponsors who are members of CIWEM who can review your application. You will need to submit a signed letter from each of your sponsors alongside your application, confirming that they have done this. So basically, your sponsors will need to review your whole application and be comfortable with it, and provide you with feedback if needed, but hopefully just kind of sign that off for you and be a sponsor for your application. One thing I just want to say here as well, so I don't think both sponsors have to be members of CIWEM. One of mine was a member of the Geological Society, so it doesn't have to be 2 members of CIWEM, but one definitely does need to be. Okay, so this Sponsors and Mentors platform is now open on the CIWEM website, free for everybody to use. So you do need to be a CIWEM member to access this. It's not just for Chartered Water Environment Manager, it's for Chartered Environmentalist, Chartered Engineer, which we've kind of alluded to and linked to through the series as well. And it's also for, you know, wider personal development as well. So it's a really good resource. It's there at www.ciwem.org. So please do go and take a look at that. And it's a great place to link up with other people within the industry and to get support, particularly, I think, you know, on the personal development side of things. And it's kind of CPD advice, and also, yeah, just a general place to kind of meet other people within your industry. Okay, and then there's just one slide here on the fast track to Chartership, so at the bottom there. So that's just to say that that course is available. If you're looking to hit the Chartership application deadlines that are coming up this year and you'd like a little bit more support, there is a this day course available through CIWEM, so there's the information there for you. It's a paid course. Then just to also run through the next deadlines for the applications. So if you've been with us for the 12 weeks, then that's great. And if you're feeling in a really good place now to actually go and submit your application, the first application deadline is the 10th of August. So if you do feel ready, then fantastic. If you don't worry. There's others in the future which you can go for. But so yeah, if you do want to go for the 10th of August, you'll need to have everything uploaded to the CIWEM website and submitted by that date. There will then be a professional standards board meeting on the 15th of September, where all of the applications will be reviewed by the board, and those shortlisted for interview will be decided. You'll then be notified of that if you've been successful, and your professional review interviews will take place on either the 15th or the 16th of October, and that will be done over Zoom. So if you don't quite feel ready for the 10th of October, there's another submission date on the 5th of October, and then there's a final application deadline for 2020 on the 1st of December, with the kind of interviews falling out of those in a kind of similar pattern. So yeah, so fantastic if, you know, this series has been what you needed to kind of give you the motivation to get yourself ready for these application deadlines. If not, then that's absolutely fine as well. There's no rush with any of this. If you need another year or a couple of years, that's okay. But hopefully this series has kind of given you the structure which you can now follow and work to, and get yourself there in due course. Okay, so just a final slide just to say well done if you followed us through the last 12 weeks. It's been quite a lot of material, quite a lot of information. And thank you very much for yeah, bearing with us through the series. We've got all of the slides have been uploaded to the CIWEM events page, and they're also on the membership area of the CIWEM website now as well for you to access at your leisure. So if you haven't managed to kind of tune in week on week, they're all there and accessible as a library for you to access as a resource. And also finally, just to say from myself, Ian and Jack, who have presented through the 12 weeks, just good luck to you all, and hopefully CIWEM will have lots more chartered members over the coming months and years. So thanks very much. If anyone has any questions, I'm just going to have a quick look. Oh yes, lots of questions. I think Ian's on the call as well. So and we've also got a couple of people from the membership team and CIWEM HQ. So I'll just have a look through these. Okay, so the first one starting is, my CPD is on a spreadsheet. Can I just upload that, or do I have to add each entry into the website one by one? So it is a case, unfortunately, of adding individual entries one by one. So this can be quite a time-consuming. I said, oh, Sophie,
just, interrupt that. No, you can upload it as a spreadsheet application. Okay. Obviously, if you're starting it early on and just keep your record, then that way you can. But if you do have it kept as an alternative form, we do accept that.
Oh, great! Thank you, Sophie. Okay, the next one is, can you clarify CPD submission has to be the last 3 years? Are you able to answer that one as well, Sophie?
Yeah, so it does need to cover your 3-year period. If you haven't had any career breaks in that, then do let us know, and we'll kind of provide additional advice on how you might extend that one. But yeah, it's assessed over that 3-year period.
Great. Does this CIWEM Chartership webinar series count towards CPD? I'm going to say yes, absolutely. So yep, so you'll be able to log each of the half-an-hour slots. So yeah, so that would be 6 hours of CPD for you to include this year, which is good. What is the difference between the CPD date and the CPD year on the form? Yeah, I had to look at that twice myself as well. I think it's just saying maybe if you're doing it in a financial year, it's the point that you decide. So if your CPD is spanning across, say, 2019-20, just picking that your CPD year was 19-20 and looking back across the previous year, but you may just want to do it year on year. Yeah. Can you list more than 3 years worth of CPD? I understand this is more work, but shows your long-term commitment to CIWEM. I mean, I'd say, I don't know if you agree with that, Sophie, I'd say yes, absolutely.
Yeah, you can list as much as you want. The assessors will kind of focus on that 3-year period, as that's the requirement. But yeah, if you want to list more and kind of refer back to that in your MC report, then go ahead.
Great. We had a webinar of CIWEM Chartership. Can we include them as CPD? So yeah, I think that's absolutely fine. If I opt to keep a record of CPD via an Excel spreadsheet, can this file be uploaded as part of the application, or does the content need to be copied across? So yeah, Sophie's said that's fine to upload that as a spreadsheet, which is great.
Yeah, I think just important to make sure you include that kind of reflection piece in your record.
So kind of taking the fields that are there within the CIWEM form.
Yeah, I think, if you have kind of different ways, then that's fine, but it needs to be more than just that list.
I think, yeah, the best way is to take the format of what's online and put it into a spreadsheet. So all your columns are the same as what CIWEM require is useful.
Great. I've been told that only one of the sponsors needed to be CIWEM chartered, but that the other one could be from another body. For me, that was the case because I used just one CIWEM sponsor, and then the other was from a different body. So
you need 2 chartered members to sponsor you, but yeah, one of those can be chartered elsewhere.
Also, if applying for 2 types of membership, a minimum of 1 each was enough. Could you please confirm, as it seems a bit different from what was said today?
Yeah, so you'll need all your registrations covered in your sponsors, and that kind of follows the previous thing that we mentioned. So they can be kind of different people, but as long as all those registrations are covered.
Thank you for this extremely useful series of webinars. The timing was perfect and it really helped me to progress with my application. The format weekly at breakfast time really worked well for me, so that's great. Thank you. Thanks for putting some really helpful, just the push I needed. And actually, I just want to say on that, the reason we kind of did this series was because it's actually what it took for me to get chartered as well. And I think Jack had previously run this a few years ago, and it just alongside your day job and family life and everything else, it is very difficult to find the time. So I think having the structure of this series is really helpful, and we will hopefully be looking to, run similar series in the future. Obviously this resource is now there, but please do, there's a survey alongside the series. Please do fill it in if you get the chance to, because all the feedback we get will feed back in, and then hopefully if we do roll it out again, we can make it even better than it has been this time. What does the minimum 5 years of experience include? Would this include an MSc course, for example, or time spent working in another industry? Sophie, is it still do you need to have 5 years of experience?
The 5 years is really, it's not a kind of hard and fast rule. It's more the kind of the time kind of it on average, I suppose, takes people to meet that level of competence across the 14 MCs. So it's, some people will kind of take a different route, or a kind of way through their career that may mean that they feel they kind of meet that level earlier or later. so yeah, it is quite an individual thing, but that 5 years is just kind of a guide really for people.
So it's a case of once you've hit those competencies and you feel ready to go for it, then you can go. Obviously, external courses and seminars this year have been limited due to lockdown. Will this be taken into account?
So we've not changed our kind of requirements on CPD. The CIWEM, CPD requirements are really quite broad. I think the list that you kind of went through earlier shows that. So I think just it's a case of kind of utilising the different opportunities that we have at the moment and using those in your CPD to show that progression.
I can just say as well, all your CPD doesn't have to be external courses and seminars. It can be reading like TV programs on engineering or the environment. Just need to think about what CPD can entail. It doesn't always have to be an external course.
Yeah, we've seen some really innovative CPD over this period, people using their kind of experiences of homeschooling and how that's kind of helped them develop. So I think, there are kind of great opportunities to use in that record.
When will fast track training start? So is there a date set? Sorry, I wasn't sure if there was on my slide.
It's on the 29th. It might actually be full, but I think that we do sort of schedule out courses based on demand. So if you want to email the training team at learning@ciwem.org, they can let you know when you can register.
Will you guys be running a session on the professional interview process? Perchance would be greatly received. So we have had quite a few requests for this actually. Kind of I suppose the other aspects of the application. So this series was purely focusing on the competencies. So I had that slide where I was kind of showing you the other aspects of the application, and actually I didn't include on there the professional review interview, which of course is beyond the documentation you have to do for your application, is of course the next step. So we'll take that away as feedback and see if there is something we can do. It may be the best route for this is to go via the mentor platform, because then you can kind of link yourself up with a mentor and ask them to arrange a mock interview for you and prepare you for the interview, which is what I did for mine. I had two internal a mentor and a sponsor, and they sat me down and did a mock interview, which was really, really valuable. So I think we could do a session to give kind of some pointers, but I think actually the most value is kind of those one-on-one mock interview sessions. So, and I do think the mentor platform is well placed for that. But we'll take that away, and if we can, put another webinar out to address that, that'd be great. How long will these presentations be available for on the website?
Sure, so I'm happy to take that one. So right now they're on the events page, but obviously that's a temporary page. They're always going to live on our YouTube channel, but we're also going to be publishing this specific series in the membership section on the website.
Great. And then a final question here, how do you quantify reading materials? I mean, for me, anything that you're reading that's within academia or within the industry, or to do with water, the environment, the wider context, bigger picture, a meaningful article that actually contributes to your learning and development is valuable. So I don't think there's a definitive length or quantity of reading that you need to do. It could just be a short article that you've read in the newspaper, but it's really furthered your understanding of, I don't know, a particular desalination technique or a particular, wetland environment near to you that's just, sparked your interest, and then you've gone to visit it. It doesn't need to be reams and reams, just something that's, kind of contributed to your own career and understanding and development.
Obviously, Katie and I both work for Thames Water, but I always found reading the annual report very useful, the water resource management plan, things like this. So yeah.
Just to show that you're kind of looking beyond your day job and trying to understand that context that you're working within.
And I know we're not in offices at the moment, but yeah, there's always the CIWEM magazine available. There's and several other waste and wastewater treatment. I can't remember all their names, but yeah, there's normally 3 or 4 magazines.
Yeah, they're really useful resources
in the kitchen at the office.
Yes. when we eventually get back to the kitchen.
Yeah.
That'd be nice.
Yeah.
Also, there's special publications which the policy team will produce as well, which again is on the website, so that you can access these documents.
Great, so I think that's all of the questions that we had. So just a final huge thanks from me, particularly to CIWEM HQ and for Sophie as well, for the membership team for coming along today. Thanks to Ian and Jack for supporting as presenters on the series. And yes, as I said, good luck to you all, and really hope that we see lots more chartered members through CIWEM soon. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
As well.
Mm.